Day 7, which is sad because it means that we are now approaching the end. Not yet, but soon. So originally I had 5 films on my schedule for today. I had to skip one of them just due to timing and just to give me a little bit of a break today. So I ended up seeing 4. So starting with Bloodlines. Whilst embarking on a relationship with the new girl in town, a Métis woman's life is rocked to the core when her estranged mother returns. Bloodlines is an interesting film because when it first got started, part of me thought it was like an elevated, indigenous Hallmark movie. That was kind of the vibes that I was getting from it right at the beginning, and I was fine with that. I was like, okay, that's cool, I'm digging it. But that feeling of it being an elevated, indigenous Hallmark movie basically evaporated within the first 20 or so minutes, and it settles into its own wonderful, intimate portrait of community, family, legacy, trauma, love, hope. There are lots of things packed into this film. It is a nice, tight, I think it's around an hour and a half-ish. It's well edited. The main actress, which I don't remember her name off the top of my head right now, there's a lot of subtleties in her performance that I really, really loved. It's not a showy performance. She does have a lot of range, and she shows off that range for sure, but there's a lot of subtleties to the performance, and I absolutely love that. There was a Q&A at the end of the film, and it was a very emotional one, very personal film for the director, for the cast, for the crew. It's very emotional, powerful, intimate, personal film for all those involved. I spoke about Wrong Husband a couple of days ago. I had a little bit of a struggle with that film because I didn't love it, but I wanted more films like that to be shown. You know, Bloodlines is the same in that I want more films like these to be made and to be shown. The good news about Bloodlines is that I actually did love it. So compared to Wrong Husband, I really did love this film. There's a lot of community and culture that is being shared through these films that I think more people need to see. So yeah, Bloodlines, I really did love it. In terms of a rating, I would give Bloodlines 4 stars. Up next was Follies. Francois and Julie, together for 16 years and parents of 2 children, can no longer connect intimately. They decide to open up the relationship in order to engage in sexual follies that will allow them to learn more about themselves. Follies is good. It is very funny. It's very raw and emotional, and the characters are very vulnerable. It kind of reminded me of a film that I saw last year at TIFF called Paying for It. I don't have a ton to say on Follies except for the fact that it's hilarious, and there's a lot of frank conversations that are happening in the film that I think are interesting to see on screen. I think that's, we don't have films like Follies too often. So for the rating, the reason I would give Follies a 3.5 and not a 4, 4.5, or a 5 is, I don't know, I just, when the film was done, I was like, that was great. And that was kind of it. I didn't have too much of a connection. I thought it was one of those films where, you watch it and you're like, oh, that was really good, and then you move on. So I would give this film a 3.5. And I think that if you're looking for an interesting time at the cinema, a hilarious time, and a time where, frank sexual conversations are happening on screen, this is the film for you. Up next was Frankenstein. Dr. Victor Frankenstein, a brilliant but egotistical scientist, brings a creature to life in a monstrous experiment that ultimately leads to the undoing of both the creator and his tragic creation. Okay, so I was really looking forward to Frankenstein. Frankenstein was near the top of my list as one of my most sought-after tickets. I really was excited for Frankenstein. Ever since I heard that Guillermo del Toro was going to create Frankenstein on screen, I was hooked. I wanted to see it. I was so excited when I nabbed a ticket for this. I was very disappointed in this film. And the reason why I was disappointed in this film is, quite frankly, I think my problem. Maybe not the film's. I don't know. I went into Frankenstein expecting and hoping for a dark, gothic horror film that only Del Toro could give us. And it wasn't. It's closer to The Shape of Water, and I was hoping it was going to be closer to just a dark, gothic horror film that would just be the ultimate and final word on Frankenstein, and it's just not. I just really don't think it is. It's more of an adventure film in a way. It is, like I said, a fairy tale. It's very Shape of Watery in its construction and in the vibes that it's giving off. It's also told in flashbacks, and it's also told in two parts. So you have Frankenstein's perspective and the monster's perspective, and I just don't think it works. I didn't like the structure of the film, and people really did like it. Some people thought it was the best of the festival. A lot of other people that I talked to, though, weren't so impressed with Frankenstein, and so I just think it's a miss. Overall, like, it's really well made because it's, you know, Del Toro knows what he's doing in terms of creating a film. Like, there's no doubt about it. The look of the film, though, is not great. Like, the cinematography itself is fine, but just the look of the film is kind of bland. So anyway, honestly, one of the most disappointing films that I've seen at the festival, but I think it's just because my expectations and my hopes for this film were so incredibly high, and it just unfortunately didn't deliver. And then comes to the Midnight Madness film, F My Son. An X-rated descent into demented comedy and maniacal horror as a desperate mother drags an innocent stranger into an absurd, filthy nightmare beyond comprehension. Now, I knew that this film was going to be weird and wild and out of control, and, you know, it's in the title, it's in the synopsis, it's in the pictures that you see. So no doubt about it, I was expecting something weird. Before we watched the film, the director came out and did his introduction, and he mentioned that it was an X-rated film. So I was expecting more, I guess. I was expecting more, the film is very grotesque. Like, it has this very, like, hastily shot look to it. Very, very cheap, very, very low budget. It's like they were trying to create a cult film. But I think what fails in this film is that they were trying so hard to create like a cult film or this X-rated, disturbing, grotesque film that I think they actually missed the mark. It is grotesque. There are some really awful things in this film. Gruesomely awful and also amazingly awful, right? There are some great things that I really did enjoy because they did kind of push it to the limit at times. I actually didn't think that they pushed it enough, though, for the majority of the film. Overall, the film is not good. Yes, it was great with an audience because everybody groaned at the same thing. Everybody was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're seeing that on screen. And so that was like sort of the communal experience, is that even if you're watching a terrible film, you're watching it together and you're typically having a good time while you're doing it. This was not necessarily one of those times. At the beginning of this experience, I think people were ready to have a terrible time with this movie, but in a positive way. But when it ended, I could just tell that most people just had a negative response to this film. So yeah, I was expecting grotesque. I was expecting something wild to talk about for a long time, and it just fell flat on its face, and I don't think anybody's ever going to talk about this film ever again. So there's that. In terms of a rating, I would give this film 1 star, and the reason I would give it 1 star is just because of the communal, grossed out experience that everybody had at Midnight Madness. So that's it. So that's day 7. Tomorrow I have 5 films on the schedule. I don't think I'm seeing them all, though, so we'll see how many I get to. But looking forward to it. Wake Up Dead Man is one of the films for tomorrow, so that's exciting. I'm hoping that I'm not going to be disappointed like Frankenstein, but you never know. Anyway, see you tomorrow.